The minister walked into a studio. On paper, the setup reads like a classic comedy line. A man, burdened with multiple titles, steps into a familiar place, and perhaps something funny happens. But there were no punchlines coming. There was no smirk, no pause for laughter. Tony Burke, the Minister for Home Affairs and Immigration, Cybersecurity and the Arts, took his seat at the ABC studio this week with the weight of several crises resting on his shoulders. Burke, a senior figure in Anthony Albanese's government, commands a workload few could imagine managing. He doesn't just juggle portfolios, he juggles national conversations, policy controversies, and the heavy expectations of leadership. Inside Parliament, Burke serves as leader of the House of Representatives, a role that puts him at the heart of managing parliamentary business and legislative debates. Outside Parliament, his name is frequently mentioned in speculative discussions about future prime ministers. But speculation doesn't ease the workload. In fact, it often adds pressure. For Burke, this week was about firefighting across multiple policy areas. He started his public appearances on Sunday morning, taking questions on Sky News. It was there he made an admission that would define much of the political debate for the days that followed. Burke conceded that no one from the so-called NZYQ cohort was anywhere near the threshold to be re-detained. This cohort refers to a group of people, numbering in the hundreds, who were released from immigration detention following a landmark High Court ruling. The court found that their detention was unconstitutional. The legal decision struck at the heart of Australia's immigration detention regime. In the face of the ruling, the Albanese government scrambled to respond. Legislation was rushed through federal parliament at remarkable speed. The measures included ankle monitoring devices to track those released. Curfews were imposed, restricting their movement at night. Mandatory jail sentences were introduced for anyone in the group who breached the conditions of their visa. The moves were meant to reassure a concerned public. They were designed to send a clear message that the government was not leaving the country vulnerable. But critics accused the government of panicking and legislating without due process. Burke, as Home Affairs Minister, bore the brunt of the criticism. He found himself defending policies that some saw as draconian and others saw as inadequate. His explanation that no one had met the threshold for re-detention raised further questions. If these measures were necessary, why had they not resulted in any action against those released? Burke tried to strike a balance between acknowledging community concerns and respecting the High Court's decision. But it's a difficult line to walk. Every statement he makes is dissected by the opposition, the media, and the public. As the week progressed, the issues piled up. In cybersecurity, Burke's department faced fresh scrutiny over the rising tide of data breaches. From financial institutions to government agencies, cyber threats have become relentless and increasingly sophisticated. Burke has pledged to strengthen Australia's digital defences. But cybersecurity is a moving target, and critics warn that Australia remains dangerously exposed. In the arts portfolio, Burke has championed increased support for creative industries recovering from the pandemic. He has spoken passionately about the role of culture in shaping national identity. But funding pressures and shifting audience behaviours post-COVID have left the arts sector in a fragile state. Burke's personal interest in the arts is well known. He's a lover of music and theatre. But personal passion doesn't always translate into political wins. Back in the realm of home affairs and immigration, the debate over the NZYQ cohort shows no signs of easing. The opposition has seized on the issue, accusing the government of failing to keep Australians safe. Shadow ministers have called for tougher detention laws and stricter visa conditions. Burke has accused them of scaremongering. But in politics, perception often matters as much as reality. The Ministers' Week ended much as it began, confronting complex challenges with no easy answers. Despite the pressures, Burke remains one of the Albanese government's most trusted ministers. His ability to manage competing priorities is a key reason why his workload is so extensive. But there are limits to how much one person can carry. The demands of managing home affairs, cybersecurity, and the arts, each portfolio difficult in its own right, present a unique challenge. Burke has allies within government who defend his performance and his work ethic. They point to the unprecedented nature of the High Court's decision and the urgency of the government's response. But even some inside Labor acknowledge that the NZYQ issue has exposed vulnerabilities. The Albanese government came to power promising competence and stability after years of chaos under the coalition. Incidents like this test that promise. Public confidence is not easily won, and it is easily lost. For Burke, the job now is to steady the ship, to assure Australians that their safety is not being compromised, and to ensure that future legislative responses are more measured, more transparent, and more enduring. But no matter how well he navigates these crises, another challenge will always be around the corner. That is the reality of modern politics, where the pace is relentless and the scrutiny is constant. Burke's ability to survive and thrive in that environment will determine how far his career ultimately goes. For now, there are no jokes, only headlines. And those headlines will keep coming, as long as Burke holds the portfolios he does.